I'm Paula from the Executive Officer from the Maths Association of WA, and today it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Tierney Kennedy. She is the creator of Back to Front Maths, and Tierney has spent many years supporting teachers and schools, particularly in South Australia and WA, with her projects. And she today is going to give us a little bit of information and a few tips about some of the webinars that she has previously produced that we are delighted to be able to offer to our teachers and our schools in WA. Hello, Tierney, how are you today?
Hi, Paula, I'm well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
No problems. Okay, so Tierney, how would you suggest to school admin teams that they go about presenting the webinars to their staff?
Okay, look, that's a really good question. I found that there are a number of different approaches that work, but if you're working with a whole staff, then often what you want to try and do is to share the experience. As we all know, teachers often learn best in teams. So if we can get a group of teachers together, start watching the webinar, pause at the times that I ask a question and actually have some really good discussions together, then it means that you can get a lot more out of it than having teachers watch things individually. If you have about an hour, then it means that you'll have some time watching the recording, but also a lot of time for discussion. And it means that you can come together as a staff and work out what it is that's really helpful for you.
Thank you. So the importance of stopping and having that discussion during the video or the webinar is a great idea for staff. I suppose the next part is that from the webinars and that discussion during the webinars, what could you suggest as some of the follow-up activities that maybe groups of teachers could do or admin staff could encourage their teachers to do?
Okay, well, in each of the different webinars, they do have different topics. So there are probably a number of different things that could be used as appropriate follow-up. Mostly we're discussing really practical strategies. So something that you could try that week in a class with real kids, watching videos of how kids respond, providing you with some games to try or resources to use or diagnostic testing to do with your kids. And a really great idea is to, at the end of the webinar, reflect together as a group and decide on something you want to try out in the next week or two. Teachers can then go and actually use that with their real kids, and you can then come back together as a group to discuss what happened. What did you find? Did you find any common patterns in kids' responses? What did you learn about them? Is there something that now will help your teaching or that you want to do some more of as a result of that? And mostly concentrate on where you found similar patterns and where you found differences, because that will help teachers to create connections and schools to be able to prioritise what's really useful for them and their kids.
Yeah, I agree with you, because as a practicing teacher, I used to find that was the most important thing for me, was if I could go away and try something with my students, but then give me a chance to reflect on it, but come back and chat and see how other teachers went with it. And yeah, you're quite right. What patterns did we see? What surprises did we see? Because quite often you get a few surprises as the teacher involved in trying something new. So Tierney, we've got a couple of your webinars that have some diagnostic tests attached to them. Where could teachers get additional information once they've completed that test so that they could start to plan some possible intervention and support to help those children move on in their understanding?
That is, again, a really good question. And I would suggest a number of different approaches. Firstly, the diagnostic tests are actually all accompanied with particular webinars. So within the webinar itself, it does actually talk about what it is you can do with the result from that. There are also other webinars that MAWA have access to on sequencing and planning, which will help you be able to pick up and use that. We will provide you with other resources as needed as well, and there's a whole lot of free stuff on our website, which will make sure that MAWA has access to as well, and articles to read and follow up and so forth. But the best use of information like that is actually for teacher thinking. So formative assessment in mathematics is actually about identifying what a student needs. So if you can do a diagnostic test and a kid gets it all right, it's probably not a really helpful source of information for you. You need something a bit harder, because the idea with formative assessment is it helps you identify a student's next steps. The research on formative assessment basically shows that as long as you do it and you think about it hard and you think about what your students might need, that on its own is actually really effective. If you want additional help, our books that go with each of those diagnostic tests are available directly from MAWA. So you can go straight into the office and have a look and see. And the tests themselves will actually talk about which lessons to start on if students need intervention and if they don't as well. So hopefully that's a really good start for everybody.
Thanks very much, Tierney. Now, I know that you just absolutely love coming to Western Australia and working with teachers on the various projects that you run. When possibly what might we see you, or what do you have planned for 2021 for us?
Oh, I like thinking about upcoming PD. Yeah, my favourite times are always in schools with teachers and with kids and teaching live and getting teachers together to think about what kids need. I've got plans next year to come and run at least a primary project and a secondary project out of somewhere in Perth. And in conjunction with MAWA, we'll be running those and people can book in. I'm also looking for some schools to host other training as well, with hopefully you involved too, Paula. And I think it's always best if we can have someone on the ground locally who's able to do a lot of that follow-up and work as a team. So we'll be running a couple of projects next year. We have a number of individual small courses as well that people can book into if they would like. And otherwise, we have some intentions to do some larger scale stuff across the state, but we'll just have to wait and see how that all pans out. So my next visit to WA is hopefully actually in November rather than in 2021. And I have a day free there that I was thinking you and I might have a discussion about what we can do as well. So yes.
Fantastic. So we always enjoy seeing you in Perth, and I can tell you whenever I've attended a PL that Tierney has presented or seen teachers present PL based on what they've learnt from Tierney's professional learning projects or professional learning workshops, there is a massive buzz around and people go away with some amazing ideas. So Tierney, I do thank you today for your time, and we look forward to seeing you in WA and catching up with you face to face.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for chatting.